I find when doing a more complex treatment, the process of investigation, moving on to treatment, the approach that you take to each painting is very different. I think it's really special to be able to bring something kind of back to life and provide it to the public to appreciate. These two paintings by Isaac Walter Jenner were gifted to the gallery in 2020. They both arrived with very thick, degraded varnish. These fine details that Jenner is known for were obscured, and you couldn't really see the composition underneath. Varnishes can act as a protective coating. Natural resin varnishes, such as damar or mastic, they tend to yellow over time. Light exposure, UV, visible light, they create reactions within the varnish to make them go yellow and brown and darken and become more brittle over time. So it's not unusual to find very yellowed varnishes on paintings of this age, but these were in a particularly degraded state. This one in particular had a large tear that was gaping, that was around this area here. When treating a painting that has structural issues, such as a large tear, flaking paint, it's important to address those first. The particularly unstable area of the painting that needed to be consolidated was around the tear. Consolidation is adding an adhesive that's compatible with the materials around and making sure that that paint is firmly stuck back to the canvas. And so you had flakes that have been dislodged around that tear. And so making sure they're stable before addressing the tear was important. The biggest challenge with this painting in particular was working out how best to treat the loss of canvas. I needed to find a compatible linen canvas that had the same thread count as the original so that I could adhere each thread of the new canvas to the old canvas, filling that so that we can then add a ground layer and then the paint on top. Once that's complete, then I removed the varnish. And to remove the varnish, we had to come up with a system that was not going to affect the underlying paint. Jenner in particular uses a system of glazing, so lots of thin layers of paint to build up that kind of brightness, those rich colors. They tend to have the same solubility as the varnish layer. And so we have these gels that I've made up that have solvent within the gel matrix, and that can sit on top of the surface and hold that solvent onto that first layer without allowing it to penetrate down into the paint layers. These paintings would now be considered in a stable state. The overall treatment of these paintings took 6 months each. We have added a new varnish layer to saturate out the pigments. They will be put back into their original frames, which are being restored by the frames department with museum quality glass that blocks out UV light. The varnish that we've just added will degrade a lot slower over time than the original varnishes. I love being behind the scenes. I love the work we do. I am bringing it to a state that people can appreciate what the artist has created.